So welcome back to the Truck Show podcast. We've got another busy episode today. Got my buddy Mike Rice hanging out with me in studio. What's up, Mike?
What's up, Sean?
Welcome back.
It's good to be back.
You might know him from such places as the Dirt to Whiskey podcast and filling in for Lightning while he had COVID.
Yeah, the now defunct Dirt to Whiskey podcast.
What's happening with that? Anything? Is it dead forever?
It's dead. Oh. It's done and dead, unfortunately.
All right. Well, at least you get your podcast fix here in the pod shed.
I do get my podcast fix in here, and by the way, the digs are much better than my office.
Than your upstairs office?
Yeah, than my upstairs.
You
office.
had way more Hot Wheels than I did, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've
got some. These are all from listeners.
You do? Oh, that's nice of them.
Yeah, I got a couple boxes of different Hot Wheels, so we pulled out the ones that are fun for the show. All right, so on this episode, I'll be sharing an interview I had with the Bacon Man of the automotive aftermarket himself. That's Matt Graves from American Powertrain. They're really expanding their truck lineup of products, and so we'll be digging into that. We'll also check into some of the discussion on the Podshed Insiders and then reviews from Spotify comments, as well as hearing from Mike because you bought a new truck.
I did buy a new truck.
So we're going to do a U review on it. And we haven't done one of those in a while. And then we're also going to be learning from Mike how to screw someone when selling your old truck so that the check engine light comes on moments after.
No, we're not.
Okay, just checking. You don't want to tell that story?
I don't want to tell that story because I feel really bad.
I know, but it's still funny to me.
Yeah.
No, here's the deal. Mike had to sell his old truck to get the new truck. And if you know Mike, you know he's meticulous about maintenance and went through the entire thing, everything on that truck, nothing, even checked the check engine light codes ahead of time, and then sold it. And like a week later, the guy's like, hey, a check engine light came on.
Well, I did one better because I did something that nobody ever does.
What's that?
Smog the truck before I hand it over to the guy.
I mean, it was ready to go.
Yeah, it was ready to go.
That's the humor I find in this whole situation is Mike's the guy you want to buy a vehicle from, and he did everything right, and this guy still got a check engine light.
Yeah, and just to show you the world works in mysterious ways, my new truck got a broken windshield 2 weeks after I got it. And then a mouse ate through the pollen filter. Yeah, so, you know.
We'll talk about that because I think that's part of the experience.
Well, maybe it's a good time for me to mention that parents with small children listening might want to be aware that this particular talk is intended for a more mature audience.
And that's because of all the swearing Mike will do.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
All right, I can't wait. All right, so we're going to talk about that. And the funny thing about the old truck is you just got a care package for the old truck that you forgot about. And I'm sure there's some people listening who got the same care package. So we'll talk about that too.
Or maybe they didn't even know they could get the care package.
Ooh, or maybe they didn't even know. So yeah. So we'll cover that. Before we get in the show, we have to thank the companies that make the Truck Show podcast possible. So of course, that's thanking the fine companies that sponsor the show, like our presenting sponsor, Nissan. Looking for a new pickup truck or family hauler? Then you'll want to head on down to your local Nissan dealership and put your eyes on the robust and reliable, freshened 25 Nissan Frontier pickup or the all-new luxurious and capable 25 Nissan Armada full-size SUV. Either way, you'll be impressed that Nissan's legendary ruggedness comes with all the features you'd expect, such as incredibly comfortable zero-gravity seats, modern styling inside and out, available off-road packages, all for the price point that feels like a deal. Point your browser to nissanusa.com and see how Nissan has the perfect quality-built vehicle to fit your needs. And if you love your truck as much as we do, then why not give it the best synthetics money can buy? AMSOIL is not only the leader in synthetics, but also the first in synthetics. Started by fighter pilot Al Amatuzio in 1972 with the game-changing 10W40 synthetic motor oil, AMSOIL continues to innovate with a wide selection of synthetics that are formulated, blended, and packaged right here in the United States. Available for just about any application and anything with an engine. Whether you need oil, lube, grease, transmission fluid, car care products, and even filters or oil change kits, you'll find everything you need at amsoil.com, and you'll also experience a vast catalog and quick shipping. We know you truck guys out there also love knives, so we want to extend to the Truck Show podcast listener one of the best knife deals you'll find. Thanks to our generous partnership with Kershaw Knives, Truck Show podcast listeners can get 40% off MSRP and free shipping over $50 by using the code 25TSP40 at checkout. It can be used more than once and even includes automatics. All Kershaw knives, regardless of price point, come with a limited lifetime warranty and repair parts such as pocket clips, screws, and springs are available through the website. Kershaw knives also include a lifetime sharpening, and the lineup has everything from EDC knives that can be used and abused for under $50 all the way up to the high-end collectibles. Support the Truck Show podcast and get yourself a Kershaw today. And lastly, when it comes to amazing adventure content, how-tos, and great storytelling, only one brand is doing it right in the print magazine space, and that's OVR, Outdoor Vehicle Recreation. OVR is about getting out there in our vehicles to explore and discover the world around us. Get complimentary access for a year to our digital library or a discount on your print subscription today at ovrmag.com. Use the promotional code at Truck Show Podcast. The Truck Show Podcast survives off your reviews and sponsorships. Please help me to keep it free by leaving reviews and comments on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and by supporting our sponsors.
The Truck Show. We're gonna show you what we know. We're gonna answer what the truck, 'cause truck rhymes with the Truck Show. We have the lifted, we have the lowered, and everything in between. We'll talk about trucks that run on diesel, electricity, and on gasoline. The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Oh, oh.
It's the Truck Show with your host, Holman.
And also today, Mike Rice.
I like the new intro.
You know, the Podshed Insiders were highly mixed on that. I got a lot of flack this week.
I saw the debate. I mean, have any of them stepped up to sponsor?
No,
podcast?
no, they haven't. No. Maybe what I'll do is I'll charge $5 a month Patreon, and you can get I'll edit the show with the original jingle in it. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
Make a little extra money.
Go to
on
the
side
highest
there.
bidder.
Dude, it's hard. It's hard to do a show like this and bring it to everybody on time twice a week. And I love the interaction, and I appreciate the criticism because it's going to make me get better. But you know, that's hard sometimes when you pour a lot into it, and you know, people are like, "Well, hey, good job," but and you're like,
especially since you're a one-man band now.
I literally a one-man band. Like I'm doing it all. In fact, I also was the only person here when I recently sat down with Matt Graves from American Powertrain, and here's how that went. All right, everybody, I'm here with Matt Graves from American Powertrain. Well, let's see. If you like manual transmissions and trucks, I think you're really going to like this show. But, Matt, before we talk to you, we've got to do the jingle.
Welcome to the parts department.
Screw, nut, filter, oil, grill, tools,
The parts department.
wheels, tires, brakes, lights, gears, belts.
The parts department.
And your wife warns you not to.
Don't you spend our money.
And then you'll want to come back.
So, welcome to the pod shed, at least virtually. And this is where we basically tell our entire audience how to spend money so their wife gets mad at them. And today, you will be the purveyor of fine parts that they didn't know they needed, or they did know they needed, but they're going to get them from you and completely blow that walking around money budget.
That's right. That's right. You know, it's funny. We don't do it anymore, but we used to have a parts layaway program that was a money order thing. So you could make your payments on it. We would put it up for you, and nobody knew but you and us. So
yeah, you're just doing the Lord's work right there. So
that's right. Yeah.
Sounds like a fellow who's married.
People did it all the time. So it was kind of hard to manage. So we had to stop doing it. But there's a lot of people. Some guys took advantage of that.
Yeah,
no paper trail, right?
The smart ones. Oh man, I love it. So we've got Matt Graves from American Powertrain, and American Powertrain is pretty much known for muscle cars and manual transmissions, manual transmission conversions, parts. Maybe tell us how it got started and the fact that you guys are making a huge push into trucks. I've always kind of had the trucks, but in the last few years, a lot more applications.
Yeah, so the company was started around 2005 by Robert Hall. And ironically, Robert was a European car enthusiast. He loved muscle cars, but he started doing Jaguar E-Type conversions and he come up with a 5-speed kit using a T5 from Tremec and started putting together all these kits for classic Jaguars. And then it kind of ballooned into muscle cars, and he just kept evolving. He was doing all this stuff out of his home garage back then. Fast forward to 2011, he grew the company pretty well, moved it off to a normal off-site building in Cookeville, Tennessee. And then I was previously at Cherry Bomb Exhaust for 17 years, and I left there in 2011 and went to work for Robert, and here we are, been there ever since. So about going on 13, 14, well, I guess 14 years now.
Yeah, it's funny.
Everything I've made has been under the car. Nobody can see it. Exhaust and transmission.
Well, so. and whether it's layaway or loud exhaust, either way, you've made wives mad for, what is that, over 30 years?
Yeah, about 30. I started in 94, which now makes me feel old when I say that out loud. So 94 at Marymount Exhaust or Cherry Bomb.
Do you ever
back in the day? So.
Do you ever look in the mirror and go, who is that guy? Because I feel like I'm 25.
I see a lot of gray. Yeah.
It's like My hair on top, what's left, is still kind of brown, but man, my beard is getting awfully white quick. So
Yeah, it's all started in my beard. I got a little on the sides now, but yeah, it's been a fun trip. I've got to do a lot of stuff in this industry, and I love this industry. I wouldn't even know what I would do outside of this. Like, where would I even work? It's just, cars are a passion of mine, and I love working on them every day, and love selling parts for them, and it's no better, really.
Listen, I'm in the same boat. I don't know what I would do. In fact, when I got laid off, I'm like, I'm not leaving this industry. So
Yeah, right.
suckers, you haven't gotten rid of me. I'm going to figure out how to stay in here. And to this point, I think I've done a pretty good job of that. One of the things that you guys have done, you were the first with an F100 kit, which is kind of when I was like, oh, because I have got a 67 to 72 F100. It's a disaster. It's all painted. The interior's done by TMI. The drivetrain, it's just sitting there. Like it needs to be pulled and it needs to get put back together. And the truck was a manual truck, but because of what we were doing, we ended up putting an automatic in it. And I want to go back to a manual. It's got a Ford Performance EcoBoost first gen in it. And I want to do something that would just really piss off a lot of people where they go, that's wrong. And I'd be like, cool. So at some point, don't be surprised if I circle back and figure out if we've got the right bell housing and everything to attach a T5 or something like that to the back of that EcoBoost and make my 67 to 72 run again, because you guys make a fantastic kit. Also C10s, OBSs, and then recently you've got the new Dodge application. So let's talk about that 93 to 01 Dodge, because that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, that's actually using the, I don't know if you're familiar with it now. Tremec has a new, well, not really new, but new to the aftermarket. It's called the TR4050. It's similar to the NV4500, which a lot of the four-wheel drive guys know that, Dodge guys. Got the same bolt patterns that NV4500, kind of fits in the same package envelope. It's an all aluminum case. What I understand is that Tremec pulled this out of the Brazilian truck market, like Ford truck market. And I may be messing that up, but I'm pretty sure that's an F250 market down there, and put it in the aftermarket a few years ago. And we've been slowly developing kits. I mean, we're muscle car, two-wheel drive kind of guys. I used to be a Jeeper off-road guy. I was, big into CJs back in the day. But so I get stuck with doing the four-wheel drive stuff, which is cool with me. But the 4050, it's a truck transmission. It's got the 661 granny first gear in it. It's got a 0.71 overdrive fifth gear. So it handles about 600 foot-pounds of torque. It's pretty beefy. And then we come out with our square body kit a couple of years ago with it. The cool thing about the Dodge truck kit is if you have a 5-speed truck now with that 93 to 01, this is a bolt-in transmission.
Oh, nice.
All you got to buy is the bell housing kit from us and the transmission. Everything else is you can reuse the transfer case, the cross member, the mount, and even the drive shafts. You don't have to change drive shafts. You don't have to do anything. Comes out right in the stock tunnel opening. You can attach an aftermarket shifter handle to it. We have a short throw shifter that we also upgrade it with when you get it from us. So it was I think we did it in a couple of hours. Like, oh, that's it. Like we were in the R&D, like in the shop, like that's it. It's done. It's like, I don't have to design anything. It's just really all we had to do with the bell housing and the bell housing will work with the V8s that are in the truck. Now this is a 1500 series truck.
Yeah.
Keep
Okay.
that in mind.
Yep.
So it's for the gas engines in that truck. And to use the late model Hemi, you can use the same bell housing we offer. So if you want to put a Gen 3 Hemi in that with that kit, it'll bolt right up. We just recently did that with Stacy David on his Little Red Wagon. So we actually used his truck for R&D for that particular application. So yeah, it's pretty neat. There are some limited applications with the 4050 due to it's got an MP 23 spline outlet. We can't do all the transfer cases right now, but we're working on them. Like I said, we're slowly rolling out some kits for the four-wheel drive market. We also have a two-wheel drive version of this transmission, which is great for towing,
especially that low granny first.
Yeah, we have a dually kind of a shop truck. It had a 454 in it, OBS, and we stuck that two-wheel drive one in it one year and drove it on Power Tour. That year they were at Bristol. at the Speedway. I actually drove the truck up on that huge embankment. I put it in that first gear and just lit out on the clutch and it just walked right up through there. It's pretty cool.
Oh man, I love having shop
cool.
trucks that you can just think of all the places I worked that had a shop truck, right? And they get used, they get abused, but it's nice when you can make it the R&D prototype for something.
Well, we're actually in the process of looking for and buying a GMT 800 right now,
Mm-hmm.
shop truck. So it's a 99 to 07 Chevy truck.
Some would say that's peak GM right there, GMT 800s.
I'm a big fan of the hamburger grill trucks.
Uh-huh.
Those first years,
Yep.
I like that's. In fact, I wouldn't. It's going to be hard for me to not buy the truck when I find it to buy it for the shop.
Yeah.
So because
Yeah.
we actually don't have the dually anymore, but we're like I said, we have to haul parts around in our town down to the machine shop and back, powder coater. So my guys are actually using their own vehicles. So like, oh, we got to get a truck.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, we need a GMT 800 because we got to finish. We sell a kit, but we want to make it an official, like fully developed top to bottom kit for it. So I'm actually looking for an automatic so we can convert it over. But yeah, it's pretty easy truck to do already. If you got a 5-speed, like a factory 5-speed truck, we can do that. No problem. You can reuse a cross member on it. But we really want to develop the automatic to manual conversion. Like you go to LS Fest, it's probably the number one drag raced cheap vehicle there is a truck oiling down the track when they blow up their engines, putting twin turbos on them with 300,000 miles. So we get a lot of calls for converting those. You see a lot of guys like doing pro touring stuff with these trucks now, put full suspension on them.
And I don't know what it is. I mean, everybody obviously have a truck show, right? Everybody loves trucks, whether it's because it reminds you of grandpa or your dad or sitting 3 across on some country road or going to some outing, whatever it is. But it's also, they just look cool. And I feel like, you could kind of have that sort of V8 rear wheel drive experience with a little bit more room. And they're pretty durable. And now that the aftermarket is going toward pro touring and all this different stuff, and people are like, no, I want to race that. It's kind of fun to see, to be honest with you. I love it. I love seeing everybody doing, car stuff with trucks.
Well, I mean, that's what made trucks so popular here in the last 20 years. Who can afford a new 1969 Camaro?
They're gone.
There are some that can, but I mean, they're gone, or they're going to be, they're $30,000 and up for a beat up one.
We've talked about that.
For Chevelles, Mustangs.
The Mustangs are gone.
The next evolution.
100%.
Now trucks are expensive, depending on what kind of truck. If you want to, my favorite is the 68 to 72 C10s. 67. Sorry.
Yep.
I have one of those. We called it the Cheap 10 project we did back in 2014. Did an LS swap with a TKO and stuff in it. That was probably the last cheap one out there when I bought that truck, and it was a rolling chassis I got for like $2,000. You're not going to find those anymore.
No, once the muscle cars dried up, so Camaros went away, Mustangs went away, and then everybody started going to the Mopar stuff. And then there were a couple TV shows with the Mopar stuff, and that got popular. Mopar and International trucks right now are still a little bit affordable, but 67 to 72, Fords and Chevys, Ford dent side, Chevy square bodies, and especially 80s Chevy square bodies coming on hard right now. And I almost feel like when you're looking for stuff, people now know what they have, which they didn't before. And I feel like there's a lot more enthusiasts, and I don't know what the reason is. I don't know if it's because of the complexities of the new trucks, the fact that most trucks don't come in a regular cab or are hard to find or whatever, but a lot of people are going back to build these project trucks, and I feel like everybody in the market for a new truck is kind of like, well, I always kind of wanted that square body Chevy I'm going to go buy that. So it feels like there's way more buyers than there are trucks. Square body Chevys and the OBS Fords were comfortable. It was like kind of the most comfortable out of the trucks before they started kind of getting into luxury car territory. But you could get, a really nice interior, nicely trimmed out. You've got room for a decent radio in there, stereo system. The aftermarket supported it. They're not giant. Like I'm driving a brand new Colorado right now, and I had it parked next to a GMT 800, and I couldn't believe how similar in size they were. So you go back to a GMT 400 truck, and the new midsize trucks are almost as big as the GMT 400s, maybe a little narrower, but the reality is trucks have gotten big. The new trucks have over-the-air updates with no enthusiast wants to deal with that kind of stuff. They don't want to try. So now all of a sudden, it's like the John Deere deal with right to repair. Everybody's going back and getting an older John Deere tractor because they can repair it, fix it, and it still does all the things that the new ones do, minus the computers. Well, I think that's what's happening in the pickup truck space as well.
Yeah, one of the things that I was actually looking at, like I said, I would like to have one of those trucks myself, is buying a GMT 800 and going to the salvage yard and picking up like 3 or 4 5.3 LS engines to stack up in the shop. You could drive that truck for 20 years.
Yeah.
You could just swap an engine out and put one, it's probably the last one that's easy to work on, that they started getting into the DOD and the cylinder displacement on demand thing. And,
Yep.
yeah. I mean, now look at this big recall that's going on with GM.
6.2s.
I have friends of mine that are waiting on engines, for a truck. So yeah, there's a romanticism with like these trucks. They're easy to fix and you can just throw a carburetor on it and keep it running forever. But, the reality is the newer trucks, it's all computers and, where are you going to get all these screens when they go out?
Well, let me ask you this.
That's
It's like, who wants a 10-year-old Dell computer?
Right.
Exactly. So what's that going to do? I look at the new vehicles. They just feel like throwaways. The new trucks with all the screens, they're nice, but it's like I just feel like I'll just lease it and be out of it by the time it's done. And all the updates. What happens when like satellite radio, where they change the receiver or the band, and now all of a sudden they obsoleted a bunch of radios? Or what happens when we go from 4 or 5G to 6G? Or 7G in the future. Now you can't do the over-the-air updates. Does it brick your car that you've been driving for 15, 20 years? I mean, there's just so many unknowns.
And get a new head unit put in.
What happens?
With the adapters.
Yeah, or are we going to have like transponders on all the old dumb cars, like our classics, to drive on a roadway with a bunch of dumb smart cars that are driving themselves? I mean, it's just on and on.
It's going to be interesting in 20 years what the aftermarket's like for these kind of vehicles. It will be very interesting.
Very different than it is today.
But it's like I have a 1997 Nissan hardbody. My dad ordered that from the Nissan dealer here in town. That's right. Also have an 04 Xterra.
Oh man,
for Nissan plug.
Those are awesome, by the way. I love the Xterra. Is the one vehicle every enthusiast who loves Nissan is like, bring back the Xterra. Nissan hinted that they might. I just hope they do it right and they do it on the Frontier platform. If they make it a unibody and they make it funky and it's Xterra name only, it's not going to work. People want the truck-based Xterra.
That thing will go anywhere. I mean, I've had Jeeps and stuff in the past with the big axles, but the Xterra, I mean, if you have the right tires on it, it's got skid plates underneath it. It's geared great. It uses, it's not the cheapest on gas. Most of those, late 90s, early 2000s V6s were just like big block Chevrolets in there for some reason. I never understood them, why they were so
thirsty.
Terribly. Yes. Like the Forerunners V6, all those.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of gas. But this thing had, I'm on my second timing belt. It's fairly easy to do a timing belt on a belt, not a chain.
Yep.
It's, rear wheel drive, base 4 drive. So it's easy to get to everything. So I just keep it running. I've got 210,000 miles on it now. My daughter's now driving it to high school. So, but that truck, my dad ordered that truck and he got the burnt orange.
Oh yeah.
It was the last hard body they sold at that dealer before they switched over to the Frontiers. Everywhere I take that truck, people try to buy it from me.
Yeah.
And it's not in the greatest shape body wise, but it's mechanically sound. It's got a couple of dings and dents in it that he put on it. But man, it's funny how and compared to the size thing you're talking about, when you park that thing next to a new Chevy truck, it looks like a clown truck.
It looks like it came out of the bed.
It's so tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so tiny. And I think a lot of that reason people are trying to buy it because it's simple to work on. It's small. I think that's why some of those K cars from Japan or those trucks are so popular right now. They're small and like it's less space taken up in your property to use. And that's really what most people need. Most people do not need a long bed power stroke dually. No, we call it diesel inappropriateness. I have a neighbor that has a Cummins dually Dodge truck, and he pulls like a bass boat with it. I'm like, are you hauling a Bobcat with this thing? Well, but he wanted that, the diesel, but it does have a stick in it. Well, that's good. That's good. All right. Well, we'll give him points for that. I usually tell people today, they'll say, "Hey, Sean, I'm trying to buy a new truck. I don't know if I should go gas or diesel." I'm like, "Well, what do you tell?" "Oh, I've got a little utility trailer. I've got how much weight?"
8,000 pounds. Don't do it. Go get a gasser because the gassers are like the 7.3 is such a great engine in the Super Duties. It's like it'll do everything you want it to do, and yeah, it's going to suck more gas. But guess what? You don't have to buy DEF. Your oil changes are way less expensive. You also don't have to worry about your emissions equipment going bad and all that stuff. I'm like, unless you're
Which it will.
Yeah, which it will. Unless you're working those trucks and regularly towing to where you can blow out the DPF and all that, it doesn't make sense for a daily driver to have a big diesel truck. Just get the gas version. It's fine. It'll do everything you want to do, and it'll be way cheaper cost of ownership and cheaper to get into at the same time.
Yeah, I tell a lot of my friends that are looking for oh, I want a diesel truck. What do you think? I'm like, is this part of your business?
Yeah.
Is it helping you make money? Then that's probably really the only way to justify it.
Sure.
Unless you're like you like to tow giant things around, But I mean, it's it's $150 for an oil change, or not more on some
more
of
out
those.
here.
And,
$150 would be a discount in California.
yeah, and I had a friend that just did. I guess it was an LM7, or I may be off, for LM9 on the Duramax. It could be just did injectors. It was like $6,000.
Yeah.
And you have to replace the injectors on those once you get over 150,000 miles. There's no option. So you have to spend that money if you're going to keep driving that vehicle.
Yeah, there's
But
just
anyways,
the diesel market's tough.
give me an old square body.
Yeah, listen, I love the fact that you are making products to modernize a vehicle, but in a way that doesn't take away from the character of the vehicle. Nobody knows except the driver, right? Somebody who does an engine swap or a manual transmission swap or updates their manual, and you have the right gearing and you have the more modern engine, from the outside it still looks the same. But the enjoyment you get from behind the wheel, knowing like I got all the heavy duty parts and this thing is geared perfectly and it'll loaf along at 1,800 on the freeway, and I can go take it to the drag course, and it's fun to drive around town. To me, that's the best part of it, is all the little things that you can't see. Because when you go and see a custom vehicle, or you see somebody's little project, or you see somebody's truck, it's more fun when you can walk around it for a while trying to pick out what did he do to it. What's different about it? The visual stuff you see right away. It's all the stuff where you pop the hood or crawl under and kind of go, oh, I see what you did here. That's the fun stuff.
Right. Yeah. So selling these manual conversions for trucks, it's almost like it helps people. Like I hear it all the time. This was my grandfather's truck when I was a kid. It was my dad's truck. He left it for me, or my dad didn't want to work on the more, and I took it over. And putting in that overdrive, because some of these trucks, they may have a turbo 350 or a C4 transmission where they're just, they're winding out on the highway at 4,000 RPM. But all of a sudden now you can drive it every day because you have overdrive and you can keep up with traffic. And it kind of, I use this story a lot. I've got a couple of customers, one who had it's not a truck. He's got a C2 Corvette, and he made it his daily driver now. It's a kind of a ratty, beat up car, but when he put an overdrive in it, and he's like, man, I can run 75 miles an hour on the highway. I have same stories with guys with, C10s, F100s. They have a new car sitting there and they're like, oh, because I've got vintage air, I've got fuel injection now, and I have overdrive. All of a sudden this becomes a cooler daily driver, and everywhere you go, it's like people are stopping you and want to talk to you. And, you pull into work and you got the cool car at work because you're driving the F100
Some old pickup.
So
yeah.
So yeah, it's, and like I said, it's just the evolution of affordability, availability. The trucks are there. You can get on Facebook Marketplace and you could probably find a truck in your price range if you look hard enough.
Yeah.
If you're wanting one, of any of the brands, the Dodge trucks are a little more, worse for wear, I should say, especially in the 60s and 70s.
We used to joke that the
conversions,
that the truck would fall apart around the Cummins on the diesel ones.
Yeah. But they're making parts for that stuff now, so that's good. There wasn't a lot of support for D100s, but now there's a ton of. You got QA1's got front suspension clips for those things now, because they had straight axles on those until the early 70s in the front. Really, really kind of old technology. So now you can. I did a Crown Vic swap on a friend of mine's. We did it a few years ago, 64 D100.
That's what I have on my 67 F100 is a Crown Vic front swap.
Yeah. It's a little harder to do on a D100. You got to do a little more pie cutting and pulling the frame in, but it transforms that truck a ton. And what a great thing that that thing nearly bolts into a Ford F100. I mean, it's close. So you can
Oh,
just, there's a few aftermarket parts and you're done, to make it
couple
work.
couple
So,
shims because the frame width is the same. It's just the frame depth is different on a F100. But Ford kept that. I don't know, was it 34-inch or I think it's 34-inch. Basically, frame distance for all their body on frame stuff forever. So a 2001 Crown Victoria basically has the same frame rail spacing as a 67 to 72. So you basically take that whole clip, which amazingly enough unbolts, and then you can make the mounts and bolt it back onto the F100. It's incredible.
yeah,
You get better
you got
steering.
Yeah.
Coilovers,
You have,
aluminum
yeah.
lower arms.
It's amazing. And you got, and most of the engine mount towers there, you can buy, people sell the adapters. You can even LS swap on that whole setup.
It's incredible.
That really opened up the F100 market for us because without, those trucks had kind of a crappy front end,
Yeah.
and there wasn't a lot of options then. And once people realized that worked, that became, that just fueled that fire. So, like now, coming up in May, we're doing the F100 show in Pigeon Forge. I can't believe the size that show has become just in the last right after COVID, how it just took off. It's one of our best shows of the year for selling stuff at. Like, we actually sell kits there.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy. You go to that show now, there's like 4 or 5 companies selling frames, so I mean, just for the F100. So it's pretty wild how just that one little part, that Crown Vic, really changed the whole thing. And now you've got completely aftermarket versions of it. It's just, a whole catalog of parts you can do with that truck now.
So the other thing is that engine compartment is huge. And so you could fit anything in there as long as the frame's beefy enough. I mean, you could put big blocks. You could fit a straight six in there. Godzilla motors.
Well, the Coyote's a big swap in that truck,
well,
too.
In a Coyote and a Mustang, a vintage Mustang, that's tough, right? Like, that's really tough. F100, no problem.
Yeah.
So
and it's like, it's a lot, for me, it's a lot cooler that it's in a truck. If you,
for
when
sure.
you see that. So,
especially when somebody romps on it and makes those unholy noises and then scoots, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Another thing is, like, when we go on Power Tour, that's probably one of the most popular vehicles as a truck, because you can load up your cooler, your chairs, all your luggage, and go and survive a week on the road. You're just seeing so many more trucks when you go to a lot of these car shows now. I mean, I bet it seems like over half of our shows we do now are truck only shows, maybe more. If I stop and think about it, I've got at least 3 truck shows on our schedule this year. I'm probably going to add another one.
Awesome.
Where
are you going to be?
Pretty cool.
Which ones are you aiming for?
We're doing F100, C10 Nationals, the Battle of Bama, which is more of a truck show now than anything. Probably going to do Delmos, which was a truck show, and it's pretty much it's kind of evolved into this whole. I've not done that show yet, so I'm looking forward to doing that one.
Yeah.
We may be doing the Southeastern Truck Nationals, so we're just kind of kicking around, doing a lot more shows this year with trucks.
Love it.
I mean, you can't really ignore it. And it's a younger generation, which is great, because that's keeping this moving forward for our industry, which we desperately need.
Yeah, isn't it funny that a lot of the older guys, they're into Mustangs, Camaros, Corvettes? It might be because those cars are a little bit more expensive to work on. It might be because those cars have been more expensive for a longer period of time. And you look around, all the ones that are bringing, trucks, either patinaed, beat up, whatever, even the nice ones, and they're all young guys that are like, I'm going to make this thing into something. Now, that's a blanket statement, and there's guys at shows who have a Corvette and their matching truck next to it or whatever, and people doing, full, Grand National Roadster Show kind of builds or things like that. Yeah. But the majority of these people are young kids who inherited that truck from a family member, and they're like, this thing's awesome. I'm gonna work. I'm keeping this forever, and I'm gonna work on it, and I might do one big project a year for the next 20 years, but I'm gonna get there.
Oh yeah, it's just I think it's affordability is the number one thing. When it started out to be, it's like, these are cheaper, but then it turned into a whole lifestyle kind of thing, and it's kind of a look, and and it's what the cool kids are driving anymore. Now that I'm an old guy, I can say that.
Yeah, right.
Like an old guy. So yeah, it's really evolved into its own thing, and a lot of it's a generational gap in a way. I mean, my father-in-law grew up with Camaros and Corvettes, and that's what he had when he when he wanted to relive those days, he went out and bought he's got a 67 Nova. Now he's into street rods. He likes the street rod thing.
Yeah.
I'm not really a street rod guy, but it's that's still that's a whole industry that grew for years because that was just a generational difference. And now it's almost like the truck market's the market.
I'd like to think
muscle cars are always going to have a place, and they're never going to stop. I always wonder how many more 69 Camaros are there that we're selling 5-speed for. I mean, we probably sold 2 or 3 today for 69 Camaro if I go look right now. Yeah, so it's like now you can just mail order one. You can just order an entire Camaro piece by piece on the internet,
yeah, right.
which is great. But trucks are getting the same way. If you look at all the restoration companies, they're selling beds, cabs, everything to build, and frames. Obviously, there's millions of frame companies. So, yeah, it's like you can go from a $2,000 Facebook find to a $200,000 truck build real quick.
Whatever your heart and wallet desires. Yeah. So if I have whatever I have sitting in the driveway and I'm listening to this conversation, and I'm like, man, the one thing I've always wanted with this truck is I wanted a manual transmission, and I didn't even know American Powertrain existed. What do you go about needing to know or do to get a conversion kit? I've got XYZ truck. I don't know anything about this other than I love driving stick and I need it. What's the first step, and how do I get into the process of converting my truck into a manual?
So one of the things that we do on our website is we have all of our kits on there. You can kind of piece them out and build them yourself. We also have what's called a request for quote form. So you can go on there and fill out all of your truck info, your specs, your engine, your rear gear, your tire. We need to know your tire size, the rear end gear. And then our sales guys will call you or email you, and we custom build each kit for every person that contacts us.
Wow.
So, like not everybody needs, a twin disc clutch. Not everybody needs a bell. You may have a bell housing already. So, a lot of the Chevrolet stuff, if you have an old 4-speed truck or a 4-speed car, we can reuse a lot of those components to save you some money. If you call and you have an OBS truck, you're probably going to have everything from the back of the block to the rear end, and we can do all of that. So, a lot of it's just we need to know what your project goals are, how much power you got, your kind of motor. There's a lot of guys, the crate motor stuff now. People can mail order 1,000 horsepower very easily. And
isn't that amazing? Like, what a time to be living.
Traffic. Yeah, it really is. However, that requires more than just a single disc clutch and an aluminum. You need a scatter shield. You need, we do some upgrades to the Tremix that we sell for the higher horsepower level. We can, we cryo treat them, rim polish them, blueprint them out so they can take the torque rating that a lot of these crate motors require. These engine builders are doing these days. So, we can custom tailor every kit that we do for every single muscle car and truck that we have applications for. So, like I said, it mild to wild sounds corny to say, but it really is true. You can, if you need a white shifter ball or a black shifter ball, we can change that up, whatever shifter handle you want. We have every clutch available that you can think of. We sell all the bell housings, different companies. So our whole thing is knowing what the formula is for your truck or car. We can put all that together.
So let's say I've got a square body Chevy 85 small block 305 with a turbo 350 or something like that in it, or turbo 400 or whatever. I can't remember what came in those. And I want to do a manual conversion. What am I looking at in terms of just a ballpark price for a project like that?
You're probably looking in around $5,000 because you're going to need hydraulics. We have a pedal, like a bolt-in pedal assembly that we use with Malwood, and they make these nice underdash hydraulics for the square body, so we can bolt that in, and then we use our Hydromax hydraulic bearing. You'll need that. You'll need a bell housing, clutch, flywheel, pilot bearing. The TKX, I recommend like a TKX from Tremec 5-speed. Those are good for 600 foot-pounds of torque. And we have a cross member. We have all the installation hardware. We even have a tunnel hump for some of these trucks, like a fiberglass tunnel hump. And you'll need a drive shaft. So we do the drive shaft for you. Cool thing is when you get the kit from us, we offer a 2-year warranty on the whole thing.
Wow, okay.
And once you order the kit and you get it installed, we give you up to a year to install it, and then you'll measure the drive shaft. We have a drive shaft instruction form. We also have it on our website. Once we get your drive shaft order and ship you the drive shaft, that's when your warranty kicks in, because
Okay.
you know you're driving it at that point. So,
Yeah.
so we'll send you like 4 business days once you get the thing installed. So your drive shaft is built to the truck. We actually build those and ship them complete to you,
It's awesome.
as long as you measure them correctly.
Yeah. You got to
So,
know what the
yeah,
little
we'll,
short hashes on the measuring tape are.
Yeah, we've had to upgrade our instructions a few times over the years to make sure nobody's missing a few details.
Yeah.
It's we try to make it as painless as possible, completely turnkey. You shouldn't have to go looking for hardware. We send all the nuts, the bolts, the block bolts, the bell housing bolts, transmission bolts, everything you need to do a complete changeover.
So why do you think manuals are still so popular? Because when you buy a new truck, it looks like, other than a Tacoma, a Bronco, Jeep Gladiator, Wrangler, there's just not many manuals anymore. Yet in the aftermarket, manuals continue to thrive. I mean, I have my own thoughts, like, well, if you can't get a new truck, you want it in your old truck. But kind of, what are your thoughts being in that side of the industry for so long?
And well, I think too, in the new truck world, because a lot of those are daily drivers and they're more comfort, and you got the family with you, automatic's probably what you want. But when it comes to building your project car or truck, that visceral engagement, I don't know, it's just like a cooler sensation to drive around with a stick. It's like not a lot of people have them anymore. Just having that total engagement with your vehicle. I mean, how it's fun to just throw it down in gear real quick or pop the clutch, do a burnout. I've been teaching my daughter with that 97 Nissan, it's got a stick, and she wanted to learn how to drive. Now she's 17. Everybody goes, oh, it's a millennial anti-theft device. I think that's not really fair to say anymore, because I think they just never had as much opportunity to drive, because there's just not as many cars made with that.
Yep.
But when you sit and talk to a lot of younger kids these days, they like the thought of doing that, and it's different. My daughter, she was telling her friends that she can drive a stick, and they were like, "Oh man, that is so cool! Like nobody taught me how to do it."
Yeah. She'll be teaching her friends for sure.
A good technique to teach a teenager to drive stick is on a gravel road, because the gravel will allow some slippage, which will save your tires.
It'll
and clutch.
moderate it a little bit.
Have to buy, and they can sense the traction.
That's actually an awesome point. I learned on by working at Norm Reeves Honda here in Huntington Beach, and we had a Toyota work truck, and I lied on the application and told them I knew how to drive stick, and I taught myself to drive stick that day on my first parts delivery. So,
and believe it or not, we have a lot of millennial customers. So I think they're doing a disservice to a generation there. We need to encourage everybody to drive more sticks and kind of have that. Here's the thing about, if you think about your teenage daughter driving with the stick, she can't use her phone.
True. Or eat.
It's a lot more. Got a lot more to do in the car when you have a stick. So
and her boyfriend can't sit next to her.
That's right.
I have a 17-year-old daughter, so I think about all the same things. How did you become the Bacon Man?
So that started out just like, so I live in a little town called Greenback, Tennessee. It's south of Knoxville, Tennessee, in East Tennessee. And about 6 or 7 miles from here is a place called Benton's Bacon. And it's owned by Alan Benton. And ever since I was a kid, my grandfather would go down there and get country ham, bacon. And they've been doing that down there for years. So I brought some bacon into work one time, way back in the day. And we were all kind of joking around, like, what if we gave this away? Like, or what if we, I'm like, why don't we give bacon? Like, how let me rewind. You know how you'll send out a Christmas gift to customers, like cookies or a can of, or sausage or whatever. We started sending out packs of bacon to some of our bigger shops, and they all thought it was great. And I'm like, what if we did this as a sale? We give you like a couple $100 off a kit, and you get 2 pounds of bacon. And the Robert and the other owner at the time was like, I don't know, man. We'll try it and see. Why not? It's not that big an investment. Let's see what. And then it just kind of took off like a life of its own. So we've been doing it now since 20, almost 10, I guess 10 years now. Doing they called bacon shift. We just recently ended it. This was our biggest bacon shift sale ever.
So I bet Bettens loves you.
Oh yeah. So Alan's son Daryl, who's a little bit younger than me, he's kind of taken over the reins at Benton's down there now, and he is just like he's trying to do a lot more social media and get the word out. Actually, when I was in MPMC several years ago, when I was still with Cherry Bomb, I remember going to a restaurant there near Manhattan Beach. I think it's Slater's 50/50.
Yeah, Slater's 50/50, and they were famous because they had
Benton's bacon.
Oh, they used so they had half beef, half bacon patties, and then one of the weirdest burgers you'll ever have was the peanut butter and jelly hamburger. And you're like, that sounds disgusting. Oh my God, was that amazing? So you have this half beef, half bacon patty with peanut butter and jelly on it.
I'm anti peanut butter on my hamburger. I'm sorry, it's just right. Now I'm not saying I won't.
I had to try it.
Yeah. So yeah, I was actually in LA. I remember seeing Benton's Bacon. Like, wow, they're a little more famous than I thought. And then I guess that show, Mind of a Chef, kind of put them up way up there with all the chefs. Now you go in all these fancy restaurants and they have Benton's Bacon, ramen, and all this stuff. So. Well, yeah, the bacon thing just kind of had a mind of its own, and I would bring the leftovers to the SEMA MPMC show that we were at together.
Yep.
And yeah, so every year, I was just down in Florida for it this year in PMC, and people come knock on my door. Hey, you got any extra bacon left over? I don't have a meeting with
it's
you.
It's a thing.
Yeah, come back by.
It's a thing. I remember the first time that you gifted me bacon. I felt like I was in the cool kids group, and. So for you guys that don't know, MPMC is this trade conference, and you basically are at a hotel, and you speed date for 20 minutes at a time with manufacturers. So the media comes in, and they basically have these 20-minute sessions. So the manufacturers or marketing people, like Matt, will be like, hey, here's all the new products. Here's our high-res photos. Here's what we're doing. And then you kind of map out the year if you have some project needs, or this is where you might request, like, hey, we've got this square body project or the C10 project, and we'd love for you guys to be on board, And so that's kind of when you hatch these plans for the following year. So that happens in January every year. Usually SoCal was in Florida this year. And basically, if you were in the Cool Kids group, you walked out there with Matt handing you some bacon. And I think I posted on my social last year and tagged you and stuff. But, dude, that bacon is delicious.
Are you bacon worthy?
Oh, yeah.
That's what you always say. Are you bacon worthy?
That's a good point. What's the answer to that? If somebody does the secret knock on your hotel door and you ask them if they're bacon worthy, is there some secret code phrase or anything?
I guess if you're in the know and you're already coming to ask for me, it's cool enough for me. If you know that if you're seeking that bacon out, then you're a kindred spirit. So, sometimes you'll meet some of these guys in the media and they don't really get it. Like you're handing them a pack of room temperature bacon and they're like, I'm going to fly home with this. Yeah.
It's been smoked.
That's why we invented bacon.
You'll be fine.
Because we didn't have refrigerators.
Yeah.
We cured the bacon. And you've had it. This is the saltiest, smokiest bacon on
Okay,
earth.
So everybody listening to the show knows how much I love Dr. Pepper. This is a 4-can Dr. Pepper thing of bacon. So I think I made like breakfast sandwiches for the family. Oh my God, yeah. I made I think we did breakfast sandwiches, so it was like scrambled eggs, bacon, cheese on a bagel or on bread, something like that. And I remember like my girls kept coming up because they, you're cooking and everybody steals some bacon. And my wife's like, oh my God, it's so good. Oh, it's salty. And I'm like, yeah. So I think like 4 Dr. Peppers later with my sodium intake for about 4 months, I finally had it all washed down. But man, is it good.
It makes the best BLT.
Oh, really yeah.
Does. It makes the best BLT. So new development at Benton's this year. They now have smoked bologna.
Really?
And they make the bologna with the bacon.
Oh,
they grind up the bacon and so I got a sample of it a few weeks ago. It is really good.
It's really good. Is that gonna like revolutionize?
I don't know if it's gonna affect I don't think it'll be bologna shift, but
yeah, but it might revolutionize bologna sandwiches.
Spring sale. We could have some kind of maybe a summer bologna sale.
I think you should have something funny in marketing, like if you're you got an automatic, you're full of bologna or something like that, and so if you switch, we'll send you it. Yeah. Something fun like that.
Yeah, the bacon ship thing, just like it just took off of a mind of its own. Now we have customers that wait until we usually start it right after Thanksgiving and run it till like the first week or two in January. But yeah, I think we did nearly 500 pounds of bacon this year for it, which that's kind of how I craft like how good is the sale doing is how
Yeah.
many pounds of bacon we're going through. So it was our biggest bacon ship sale ever so
Wow.
far.
I was just gonna say, does Benton send you a Christmas ham then because of all the bacon you sell for them?
They gave me a gift pack this year.
Nice.
They actually did. They're a full butcher shop. They do like steaks and everything. Yeah, they gave me some nice ribeyes and some packs of bacon and ham. Oh yeah, if you want to talk salt, get the country ham. It's saltier than the bacon.
Is it really?
Oh yeah, because they actually say to rinse the ham off before you cook it to get some, if you want some of the salt. And I really advise that you do. I mean, you'll shrivel up like SpongeBob in that movie when the light's on him when you eat it.
Oh my God! Yeah, no, that's amazing. I'm just happy that I was cool enough to sample some bacon.
Well, maybe Uncle Matt can send you some out there in California after our show.
All right. Well, we appreciate that.
See what we can do.
The bacon thing is like a fun little industry thing because everybody knows. And if you remember, Dennis from Painless used to bring the little glass bottles of cane sugar Dr. Pepper too. So
that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, if you've been around long enough, you kind of know everybody's little thing. It makes it fun. This industry, to your point earlier, I love it. You love it. I mean, it's filled with so many good people, and we all thoroughly like enjoy each other, even competitors. Like, it's cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I actually will go down. I was in NPMC this year, and I was sitting down in my competitors' rooms, sitting around talking. We were having snacks, and it's a small industry. Everybody knows each other. Unfortunately, sometimes when you go there, it's like, oh, what company are you with this year?
Yeah.
Some of that. There's some turnover in media right now, which we all know, and it sucks. But that's just, we're going through that stage right now in our world as it is. But for the most part, a lot of those guys are still here. So they're just moved over to a different place because they all have great experience and know-how, and that's hard to find. It's hard to find car people. You can be a media guy, but you have to also be a car person. You can't just be a media guy and then not be a car person in this industry because you just gotta know what it's all about. So
you'll be found out
anymore.
Super easy, and people don't want to work with you if you're not a car guy because you're not. Let's face it, like we don't have the most simple products. If you don't know what a clutch does, or the difference between a clutch and torque converter, or what a Dana 44 or a Dana 60 is, or on and on and on. There's a certain level of authenticity you have to be able to carry yourself in the industry. And I know there's lots of people who got into media because there's a job opening, but then weren't car people. Those people don't last very long. And you look at the people who are around, most of the media guys have been here 15, 20 or more years, just maybe at different outlets, depending on how that all worked out for them. But most of the same people are still around.
Yeah. And what they still do matters a lot. They still have a big effect. I mean, look at Freiberger. He's went from Hot Rod Magazine to Roadkill to now he's doing his own YouTube channel, and his audience is still growing.
Yeah,
because he's a genuine car guy, and he's like a walking encyclopedia of information. So he's just an example of many, many people in our industry that we've known and watched over the years evolve out and keep the fire going for us all, really. So.
Yeah, with rumor has it Freiberger's coming on the show at some point in the near future, so that'll be good.
That'd be great.
But you look at how many people have you seen who tied their fortunes to whatever TV show? Maybe they were a media person, maybe they were an aftermarket person. They got on a TV show, and when that TV show ended, they completely vaporized. They just disappeared because they tied their whole life or persona to that. And when that ended, the magazine ended, the TV show ended. They didn't know what to do with themselves. There's a lot of those guys out there, and I know guys like myself, Freiberger, Finnegan, we all realized we still have stuff to give this industry. We're not going to walk away, so we kind of had to reinvent ourselves and do that. But over the years, man, there's so many people that after their TV show, and it's like they tasted the peak, and then they're like, well, nothing else is going to be as good as this. I'm out, and they're gone. You just never hear from them again.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. It's just, you got to, I hate to say it sounds corny, but you got to reinvent yourself sometimes to kind of keep moving forward. And, companies have to do that. People have to do that. Media companies have to do that. So, I I use this example. There's so many people, so many companies still in the industry, but their website's like 10 years old. And I look at that as that's also when it comes to yourself. Like,
Yeah.
have you done an update on yourself? Have you done an update on what's hot? What's the trends? What's the products out there? And, I, as a marketing manager, it is my job to keep up with this stuff every day. I mean, it's like, it's a swirl of social media, keeping your website going, what products to add. It's just constant evolution. It's a changing media landscape. Podcasts are big now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got to just be able to roll with the times and make the changes. And if you don't, it's going to leave you behind. And it sucks to say, but that's really the truth anymore.
Yeah.
Media and parts manufacturing, you got to really keep up with it. So,
Well, we've seen on both sides. Whether it's the media gone away or the VCs coming in and gobbling up all the individual brands, right? Like that's on your side of the fence. We've seen that as well, where there's that consolidation in the industry has really kind of thrown things out of whack for a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's not going to stop for a while. I mean, and you got to think there's a lot of these companies that we've known started in the 80s, 90s, and a lot of those were just privately owned individuals. And here comes a buyout coming along with a big check. It's not you're pushing 70 already or 60 if you're still running the thing. You're going to see a lot of that because it is really a mom and pop industry still. And it's a passion driven industry. Not everybody gets rich doing this stuff, so it's like you got to do it because you want to do it and you enjoy doing it. So, but a lot of good products, a lot of good companies out there, and I understand the reasoning why some companies want to come, some private equity wants to come by and buy it. There's good brands out there, and as long as they treat them right, it should be okay. It just depends on where they go with it. So we just got to wait and see kind of how that pans out in the future. But you're going to see a lot more of that, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's been some good ones.
I understand it.
There's been some good ones, but there's been some kind of bad ones, crappy ones too. Yeah. Like it is what it is. But that's definitely something that's.
We won't
changed.
say any names. But
nope, no names.
We all know them.
We all know them. You all know them. I mean, you got to reinvent yourself. To your point, there's a lot of mom and pops who built this business from nothing, and they're at retirement age, and they're like, wow, I can finally go retire and hang out with my grandkids and do all the things I wanted. So you've seen a lot of that in the last few years, and you're right, that investment's not done yet. The hard thing is it takes these very different brands, puts them under one umbrella, and then sometimes you lose the what made those brands special in the first place. So the good companies try and keep that going. The other ones kind of just try to homogenize or gentrify everything. So we'll see, to your point, how that all works. But good for you guys.
It's funny too. Everything comes back around full circle too. So
it does.
Just never know.
Oh, it does.
Never know. So they kill one brand and another one's going to pop up, take its place because there's still a hole that it needs to fill. With the products or whatever. So.
Yeah, if there's one thing we're good at in this industry, it's identifying the vacuum that needs support, because that will be filled very fast.
Sometimes it takes us a while. Sometimes we react instantly. It just depends. So, it's the speed of, with the speed of product development is much faster these days than it used to be with technology too. So we can react a lot quicker to things anymore. You can get the word out a lot faster. Back, what was the old day? You did a press release and hopefully went to all the magazines.
3 months later.
And you waited until the ad came out to sell product. You would put out a new ad and you would just wait till the magazine hits the subscribers and newsstands and wait for the phone to ring. Now you can have it out literally in seconds. You can post it online, social media, send out a PR across the world and email it. And, everybody knows within just a few hours, what you got to sell. So that's pretty neat. And you can see the results. You can track it. You can monitor. It's scary. It's cool, but it's a different landscape than 20 years ago. That's for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, if you've got a truck sitting in your driveway that you'd like to reinvent and shift for yourself, put a handshaker in there. You guys will want to go to American Powertrain.
I like that.
You like that, don't you?
I like that one. Yeah.
And you should head over to AmericanPowertrain.com. And you guys have a really great website. It's actually, for as complex as your product line is and with the pieces that you need to put something together, you guys make it really easy on your website to have that jumping off point to really understand like what you're getting into. And I think that's huge. And then you guys have a really good social following, by the way, your hashtag Save the Stick, and then American Powertrain on Facebook, American Powertrain on Instagram, and American Powertrain on YouTube.
That's right. Yeah. We do a lot. And one of the things we have to do is tech. So it's very complicated product. So we're always putting out some kind of tech info. So yeah, we're really proud of our social media and stuff like that, and the website, trying to keep, it's a complicated product to sell, and you got to do some math, and sometimes that's hard for guys. So you got to make some measurements. So we try to make that process as well known and easy to do. So yeah, we've done a lot of hard work to do that. So we're real proud of it, and hopefully it'll keep going, and we can just keep shifting gears into the future.
I like that. All right, keep shifting gears, my friend. Thanks for spending so much time with us on the show today, and this has been great. I haven't had a chance to talk to you since, I guess, MPMC last year. So
yeah. Well, it's good to see you again, Sean, and we appreciate you having us on the show today. It was a lot of fun.
Appreciate you coming on. We'll talk soon. All right, so that was Matt Graves over at American Powertrain, and now you know why he is the Bacon Man. And in fact, he sent me a little care package shortly after that interview, so I have been enjoying the world's most deliciously salty bacon possible.
Who doesn't love bacon?
Everybody loves bacon.
Everybody loves bacon.
I mean,
if you don't love bacon, I can't help you.
No, you can't. You can't listen to this podcast. I'm sorry, vegans, but this is a meat and whiskey podcast.
Drop a comment in the Podshed Insiders group if you do not like bacon and you listen to the podcast.
You think they're going to out themselves like that?
We'll see.
All right, let's out you as buying a new truck. So hold on, you get a jingle.
Tell us all about your truck. Is it great or does it suck? Before I buy, I need a clue. Don't pull punches, you review.
All right, Mike, you shocked me a little bit when we had the discussion of what vehicle would replace your Cummins Ram.
I shocked a lot of people.
And we had kind of a discussion ad nauseum, and then you're like, "No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to pull the trigger." And tell the people what you bought and how your experience has been so far.
Well, let me preface this with you lobbied hard for the Nissan Frontier.
I thought it would be the perfect truck for you, and I even brought one around so that you could
sure did.
Check out the 25, and you liked it, and you fit in it.
Yeah, the Nissan Frontier, I love it. The mid-sized truck market itself is so hot right now with great competition.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there.
And I don't trust the GM twins from a long-term, reliability standpoint.
Is that because it used to be the used car guy at the dealership?
Yeah, it is because I was the used car guy at the dealership. So every single GM product that I got with 70, 80,000 miles on it, they just don't start to look so good. They start to have issues. So I would send them off to auction.
You're not wrong. You just maybe less than right.
The GM folks right now are saying,
You're a lying sack of shit.
Yeah, especially a friend of ours that owns a couple GM trucks.
Oh, yeah, he might be listening.
And the Frontier, honestly, was a really strong contender. But what it actually came down to, and what I bought, was a Tacoma, a new 4th-gen Tacoma. And you know me, I'm the most diabolical Toyota hater there was. The 3rd-gen, I did nothing but make fun of its open C-channel, rusty frame.
Dude, that was painful.
Drum brakes, no headroom, 4-cylinder power, V8 gas mileage. Toyota finally put everything together with the 4th-gen. And like I said, it was a really tight race between it and the Frontier. But what won out was I took advantage of everyone else's paranoia because of what happened with the Tundra, and I ended up getting a really good deal on a Tacoma. And honestly, the dealer made it super easy to work with, and that's kind of the thing that pushed it over the edge.
Okay, explain to me exactly what I did wrong.
So you got the Toyota.
Yes.
And you said, hey, I'm going to pick this thing up. And Toyota has 11 trim levels or something like that, or 10 trim levels.
It's 15.
And you picked the poverty level. So explain the reasoning behind that and why you picked that truck.
Well, I actually got one step above the poverty
level. Great.
So
you have a tent.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not living in a cardboard box.
No,
You've got the
I've moved up to the tent.
Very nice.
I mean, just in general, on a whole, as the industry has just gotten so far away with like MSRPs have run through the roof, technologies run through the roof. All these
totally
trucks,
complicated.
The trucks are overly complex. They're laden with features that nobody really needs, gadgets, shock absorbers on their seats.
Yeah.
I mean, so like I look at it, it's like, well, when I was younger, like just a basic, small, compact, mid-sized
When
truck,
we were younger, AC and power windows and mirrors were a luxury.
you had to option air conditioning and a passenger side mirror.
As I say, the mirror and the radio.
And the radio.
I remember my Toyota 89 Toyota parts truck in Norm Reeves Honda was the Lost Leader Special, was the off-white, two-wheel drive, regular cab, short bed, manual, bench seat, vinyl. And when I got in it, there was no right mirror, there was no radio, and they had to add AC on it as a Toyota accessory because the one they bought didn't have AC.
Yeah, that's right. And
that truck is probably still driving somewhere right now.
Oh, I guarantee you. And Toyota has this trim called the SR, which is the basic truck that you can get. Steel wheels, but I wanted a extended cab, long bed, 4x4, steel wheels. But the SR actually comes with a detuned engine, which nobody wants a detuned engine. I don't want a detuned engine. Soon as I found that out, I went to the SR5. So I got a basic truck. So, oh, wow, it has adaptive cruise. You know, it's got power windows. It's got air conditioning. It's four-wheel drive. It has four-wheel disc brakes. And what else do you really need?
It has alloy wheels as well, right?
It does have alloy wheels, soon to be swapped out for a set of race lines.
Yeah, well, of course.
But I'm leaving it in... The listeners can't hear me now, so air quotes, quote unquote, stock. I added a bed cover, which, you know, everybody with a truck needs a bed cover. Window tint, wheels. I'm not putting kings on it. I'm not putting arms on it. I'm not doing anything.
You don't want to scare anybody when it comes to warranty because even though you got the more basic version of what's offered, you still have to deal with all the sensors and all the things that come in a modern vehicle.
All the sensors, you know, it's a crapshoot when you take a modified vehicle into a dealership anyway, which we've covered on this podcast before.
We have.
And, you know, so it's a basic truck. I want to put a decent all-terrain on it, and, I mean, it'll serve its purpose.
So what has your experience been so far? This isn't the high-zoo fancy truck that everybody's been talking about. This isn't a Trail Hunter or a TRD Pro. It's not even a TRD Sport or TRD Off-Road. It's just a 4x4 SR5.
Correct. And, you know, I did not have high hopes, right? I set my expectations bar very, very low. You know, I came out of a Cummins Mega Cab, and I don't know how many people get rid of a Cummins Mega Cab with leather and seat heaters and you know, for a cloth seat SR5, but like I look at it as it's all the truck I need. And anymore as I get older, I don't need all the fancy bells and whistles, but it gets fantastic gas mileage. I'm averaging 22 miles a gallon.
Okay.
And it's comfortable. The multi-link coil rear suspension really made a giant difference in that truck.
Yeah.
The 8-speed automatic, giant difference in the truck.
How's the tuning with the 4-cylinder?
Oh, it's amazing.
And now you have a non-hybrid since you have the lower trim level. So that's arguably the better one to have. And, you know, otherwise you're forced into a hybrid on the higher trim levels. There's no if, ands, or buts. So you were able to make sure your option minus the electronics, battery packs, and things like that.
Yeah, so it's as close as I think you can get anymore other than a Frontier to just a basic rock solid truck that you know it's a 15-20 year proposition. So whether my ADD kicks in and I get rid of it at some point and buy something else, which it probably will. My wife doesn't listen to this, so as far as she knows, I'm keeping it for
forever.
Forever.
That was the deal, I'm sure.
Yeah, that was the deal. So, but you know what? The truck has been great. It's comfortable. The H point, they changed the H point, so it's actually comfortable to sit in now.
Yep. So H point is the height of the driver's seat in relationship to your hip, basically hip point. So instead of climbing up into something or dropping down into it, you know, a lot of these cars that ride higher have a higher hip point so that average adult can slide straight into it. And that makes it easier for older Americans as our country ages and the buyers get older for them to be more comfortable getting in and out of the cars.
Yeah. And for perspective purposes, I'm 6'3" and 280 pounds. So I'm comfortable in the truck, but the double cab, I ended up getting a double cab.
Yeah.
The back seat's completely worthless. Like I used to be able to put stuff on the floor of the Mega Cab. It's like a hotel back there. But now it's like I have enough room on the back seat
Yeah.
for my lunch pail and a thermos.
And
that's
maybe a
about it.
backpack or something.
And a backpack. That's
Yeah.
about it. So,
which is why you got the tonneau cover, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
So that way you have lockable, storage in the back.
which the Mega Cab had a 6-foot bed, right?
Yeah.
Well, the Tacoma has a 5-foot bed, and I realized my Gazelle T4 is 5.5 feet long. So that's going to be challenging when we go camping. So I'll have to put it in at an angle and then try and fit chairs and everything else.
What tonneau cover did you get?
I ended up getting a real truck,
Okay.
backflip.
Yep.
Well, I think it was an MX4 this time. I had the roll-up X4S on the Mega Cab,
Yeah.
and I loved that cover. The backflip, I got a trifold this time.
Yeah.
Not so easy to put on, and I'm having issues with some of the latches. Definitely a different install experience, but I've sold hundreds of these backflip
sure.
covers over the
Yeah.
years, and they're fantastic. So it took some fiddling, and I finally got it kind of adjusted right, and it keeps everything out of sight. People can't get into the bed, and it's basically a giant trunk at this point.
Yeah. Well, that's good, especially with all the tailgate and taillight thefts going on these days.
Oh my God! Can you believe that the Super Duties?
Super Duties, yeah.
That's like $1,000 taillight. I heard.
They're more than that.
Are they
Yeah,
really?
they're depending on which model. If you have like the highest trim that has the blind spot and all that in it, a lady said in Texas, I think she paid it was like $5,000 for 2 taillights or something like that.
Why does insurance cost us so much money, Holman?
Yeah, I wonder why, right?
Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah. So that's annoying. Now, your love affair with the Tacoma hasn't been perfect. Had a little bit of a rocky beginning. Not necessarily the truck's fault,
No.
but you've had a couple things happen where it's like, oh, dude, seriously, it's my brand new truck.
Yeah. So I bought the truck. First thing I did was, as you do, get the windows tinted.
Yep.
And I didn't just put cheap window tint on it.
Of course not.
I went with the Lumar Pinnacle ceramic, including the front windshield. Which a week later, I got a rock right into the window, shattering the windshield on my brand new truck.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sucks. I will tell you, driving home from Michigan in my 392, my first rock chip happened on I think it was Highway 94, going west, and I hadn't even left Michigan yet.
Oh,
I
no.
owned it for like an hour.
Yeah, I mean, in the 30 years that I've been driving, this is the first windshield I've actually had broken by a rock. And that includes the Wrangler, which, I mean, every Wrangler gets a windshield. It's a rite of passage.
Absolutely. Now, have you had your windshield replaced yet?
I did have the windshield replaced, and I retinted it.
All right.
So
you're back whole again until you realize that you had a rodent, at least one, trying to live in your truck.
Tell me you have a mouse sound effect on that board.
You know what? That's a good. I don't think I do. I'm looking like what could be a mouse, and okay, that works. Or we could just go with Mike Rice. You've won a family of rodents.
Yeah. So I started the truck the other night to leave work, and I heard this rattling around inside the dash, and I'm like, well, that's not good. And with my background in working on cars, immediately I go, something got in the HVAC box. So I pull out the cabin filter to find mouse turds and a chewed up cabin filter in my 1,500-mile truck that I just made the first payment on.
And that's what you thought about?
Yeah. Hey, there's something about Toyotas and mice, apparently, and rats. They love Toyotas.
That's what you have to do to get rid of them, actually. Okay, so the question is, how did the mouse or rat get in there? Do you think it was there when you bought the car, happened on the dealership lot, or do you think it happened in your neighborhood?
No. I mean, I've been parking and living where I have for 15 years, and I've never had an issue like this. Guarantee that guy jumped on board before I took delivery.
So, any mouse pee in there? Any smell?
No smell. I got lucky.
You're way lucky.
I got way lucky.
Yeah.
Insurance usually covers it if something like that happens.
Yeah.
But in this case, trip to the Toyota dealer, $25 cabin filter later, and some vacuum work, and I'm back on the road.
So anything particularly impressive about your truck that you really love, that maybe you think it's kind of surprised you, and anything that you're kind of like, why they do that? It's stupid.
Well, let's start with the stupid thing
Okay.
first. I know why they do it. but it's not worth the 3/4 of a mile to the gallon to have that snowplow.
Oh, the air dam?
Oh my God.
Yeah, those and Super Duties.
Plastic.
Yeah.
What a waste of plastic.
Dude, those
Just
and Super
stop
Duties
it.
crazy.
Everybody takes it off, throws it in the trash.
Yeah.
Toyota, Ford, GM, just stop putting them on the trucks.
Yeah.
Cafe standards be damned.
Yeah.
Just stop it.
As long as they rip off easily.
Yeah, that's dumb. It does have, for some reason, it has a higher amount of wind noise than I would expect, especially for a new truck. More than the Mega Cab had at 160,000 miles. But what are you going to do? So those are kind of the annoying factors of it. I think what I really like about the truck is the adaptive cruise and the lane keep assist is better than my Grand Cherokee.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it really is. So the brake intervention is much softer. Its ability to keep distance from the car in front of you is a lot smoother.
So each one of these systems they have a generation, right? And I remember the first generation on old WK Grand Cherokee, which was 3 generations ago.
Oh, with the eyeball at the bottom?
Yeah, with the eyeball, yeah. And I remember, if you know, which I know you do, 55 South carpool lane to 405 North.
Yep.
And there's that flyover,
Yep.
and it's like you're like in a bobsled chute. And I remember we were driving, and it was like my dad and my daughter in there. I think we were coming home from the Angels game and had on adaptive cruise control. And in the middle of the apex of the turn, it just slammed on the brakes and swerved. It was like, whoa, what was that? It freaked everybody out. And I think my dad even said something like, well, why'd you do that? I'm like, it wasn't me.
Well,
so you got to be on top of the technology. See where it has come since then is pretty crazy.
I get the backwards one in my Grand Cherokee. So mine, when you hit a curve and the car in front of you disappears from the line of sight, it actually starts speeding up.
Yeah, so they're not perfect. You got to keep you still got to drive.
It's called a driver's aid.
Yeah.
Not a replacement.
Absolutely. Okay, and so what's something that you love about it?
I love the safety features, believe it or not. It's really nice. They also did a really good job on the interior. It's got a lot of storage, a lot of cubbies, a lot of
What
pockets.
do you feel about especially at your trim level, the plastics and the cloth seats, durability? Does it feel cheap? Is it fine for the price point?
It's fine for the price point. I mean, listen, it's a cheap truck, right? So everything's hard plastic.
Affordable-ish.
Affordable-ish. The truck was $44,000. I was able to get cheeky with them a little bit because sales have been slow.
Yeah.
Certain things may have happened with Tundra engines. People are scared of a new Tacoma. I may or may not have taken advantage of that. But they put nice rubber grips on like the handles and like the center console. The storage is great. The glove box is huge. Console's nice. I did get the hard plastic rubberish steering wheel, so I don't even have a leather wheel, but it feels pretty good.
Okay. Until you get that suntan lotion and summer sweat built up on there and it gets sticky.
Yeah. Well, the thing I'm worried about is the cloth seats. I can't remember. The last vehicle I actually purchased with cloth seats was the Wrangler, which now has cat skin leather in it. And also they came in light gray.
Yeah. They have cat skin has like a non-leather material that looks really nice and feels good, but it's not leather. It's super easy to clean. That's always an option.
Is that like what AEV does in the seats?
They do real leather.
No, AEV has that option.
They had the Cordura. That's what I had in my old Jeep. It was like
remember.
backpack Cordura.
Yeah.
That stuff was nice because it would hold you in place off-road.
Yeah.
It was really grippy.
So you don't slip and slide
So you don't
around.
slip and slide, yeah.
Yeah, the seats, we will see how the seats wear. It came with all the stuff that I want on it. LED headlights. I mean,
that's the other thing. It's like, okay, so I want adaptive cruise control. So I have like a minimum standard of what I want, like adaptive cruise control, because I drive a lot. Probably, I don't know, 50, 60,000 miles a year, something like that.
You drive a lot.
I drive a lot. So adaptive cruise control is a thing. And then I like the LED signature lights stuff because the outside looks better. It doesn't look cheap. Plus the LED lights are a better upgrade, especially in rain or I'm in the desert where it's really dark, that kind of thing. I don't care about necessarily remote start and stuff, but I do like keyless entry, and I want a nice radio. So many of the manufacturers don't put in a decent radio on the lower trims, and sometimes it's like I want the cheap stuff, but give me a nice radio. And I like my Aria has a really nice radio in it. Like I was thinking about bumping up in trim to get the better radio, and I listened to it, and it's totally fine. Whereas you'll listen in, something that has 4-speaker, like bass radio, and it's horrible. And you're like, man, it ruins the experience, I guess.
Well, that's the other thing, is it came with an 8-inch touchscreen. Thank God, because the higher trims
So
come
was
with
it 12 or 14?
It's like a 14-inch television on your dashboard.
Well, and it sits up in the field of view like a tablet, which is weird. Like it doesn't look integrated at all.
8 inches right size. It's enough.
Yeah.
And the sound system sounds actually pretty good.
Yeah.
It has CarPlay, which is obviously important. And I think, was it GM that went away from CarPlay?
So GM has threatened it, and they're not doing it in their EVs, although I just had that GMC Hummer and that had CarPlay in it.
Okay.
Because I thought for sure, here we go. I got to spend a week without CarPlay. And it's so funny because as a journalist, me driving all the different things I do, I don't like messing with all the different onboard nav, which is usually crappy, although a lot of manufacturers are going to Google now, so it's a little bit more standardized. But when I have CarPlay, no matter what I am, I can hop in and go. I just have to learn, the AC and whatever the driving stuff. And it just made testing vehicles so much better. Plus, I have my own playlist that I like to listen to for those stereos, and I've got a very specific playlist for evaluating audio systems in cars that have a lot of stuff.
The integration is super simple, and I can just look up where I want to go on my phone,
and it's there.
It automatically goes to the screen.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Yeah. Any auto manufacturer that thinks about taking that away really needs to, I don't know, change focus groups.
I don't know if you heard the last episode, but we were talking about the Wagoneer S, and the Wagoneer S is the EV version. Basically, it's like an EV Grand Cherokee, even though it's a different car, same size. And it's built on the same Stella platform the Ram is, and the Jeep Recon will. The launch edition had 600 horsepower, but the new limited, which they decontented a few things, like you don't automatically get the Macintosh system fine, the Alpine system's fine. You automatically don't get the passenger screen fine. That's a gimmick. Like they're not. To me, it's like
the Grand Cherokee has one. We've never used it.
Yeah, no. Everybody goes in and they play with it for 2 minutes and then they go, okay, I'm over it. And there's a few other things, but it's 500 horsepower, and they are going to charge a subscription or charge you to unlock the extra 100 horsepower on a car that already has it.
They're doing the Tesla thing.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember, BMW did that same thing with heated seats.
There was a giant revolt over that.
A giant one. And then Mercedes was doing it on the EQ line where you can buy 80 or 100 extra horsepower on subscription for some of their electric vehicles, which I think is just robbery. Like subscriptions, everybody has fatigue. I want to buy my car and own it. I don't want to be like, I have to, I'm done making my payments. That's the best thing about car ownership is the freedom of finishing your car payment. And then you're like, I have ongoing thing to keep these features alive.
We're subscription to death.
Yeah.
All your streaming services, Apple Music, Memory, Google Memory, all this other stuff.
Well, not even that. You have Pandora, you have Spotify, you've got Netflix and Peacock, and you go down the line of all those individual apps. You got your cable.
I don't even know all of my subscriptions.
Yeah.
It just comes out of my bank account.
Yeah, that's
the
not
car
great.
would be one more thing.
All right, so I'm gonna walk you through something that I've been talking about for a while, and that is what I think my next vehicle is going to be. And so we've talked about this a little bit, and I've talked about it on the show a little bit. And I miss having a pickup truck because when I was at Four Wheeler, we had pickup truck of the year or four wheeler of the year. I always took the pickup truck because I had my Wrangler. And the Gladiator never came in a 392, so that killed me having a Gladiator pickup that I wanted.
Which I can't believe Jeep never did that.
Well, yeah, but there's a whole backstory behind that. So I think they're probably kicking themselves now, is what I think. But so I'm like, I want a pickup truck, but I don't need the family hauler. I don't need anything crazy. I want something that I can move. I don't know. Let's say bent front Jeep axle to a shop, for example.
Yes.
Or I want something that can move a trailer around or move a project vehicle around, an F-100 that needs to come home, for example, or a flat fender. And so I need a pickup truck. And so I'm looking at, I'm not that far from paying the 392 off. My ARIA lease is going to end soon. Well, not soon, but end of the year. Give me some time to think about it. And I keep going back to, after really narrowing it down, like a 2015 or 16 Ford F-250 or 350 Super Duty, regular cab, long bed, four-wheel drive, XLT.
That sounds fantastic.
Gas. So 6.2.
Yep.
I think you get it's either 5 or 6 speed automatic with it. Way overbuilt in gross vehicle weight for what it is.
Yeah.
I don't need the diesel because it would be sitting most of the time, and I don't need all the crap that comes with that. The interior is still pretty nice. In those years, if you got an FX4 off-road package and you could get them on the regular cab, you get 4-wheel drive. You also got the factory locker for the rear.
Okay.
And you have the ability to have auxiliary upfitter switches on those as well.
Sounds like a basic truck.
And you can get it with a bench, but those benches were nice because the outer portions were like buckets where they have lumbar and all that.
Okay.
And the center seat folds into a center console.
Gotcha.
And you can get either the transfer case on the dash or the big pull shifter manual on the floor. They sit upright. They get plenty of room, great visibility. They're not that big in terms of a truck because it's not a crew cab long bed. I would put a set of 33-inch tires on it, some Bilsteins, and I would call it a day as far as that went. Maybe a winch or some lights, and that's it. And they still had decent stereos, pretty easy. The head units were okay on those. Plenty of dash space, for putting your phone on for that kind of stuff. It's a truck.
Truck.
And I like it because they are, again, really overbuilt. That 6.2 gas engine is really good.
Oh, that thing's indestructible.
Yeah. I don't have any of the diesel issues. I don't have the expense of a diesel because that truck is 38 to 42 grand used with under 50,000 miles on it with diesel.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at it. I could get that truck, and it's really hard because there's a lot of places where they only have 40 or 50,000 miles, but they did snowplow work and they're all rusted through on the East Coast. You got to watch that. I could get that truck for somewhere between 22 and 24. Somewhere in there, if it had less than 50,000, which is my goal. So, and I want, here's what I want. I want cruise control, AC. I want 4-wheel drive. Solid axles aren't going to give me any trouble going up dirt roads, up to the property or anything like that. Factory rear locker isn't going to give me any problems for what I'm doing. Throw a deck system in the back maybe, so I still have full use of my bed, but I got drawers. And I'm just going down I'm going to make it a functional, nice pickup truck.
A truck.
A truck.
Yeah.
So, any thoughts? This is what's going on in my head. Is there anything I should consider, or have I missed the boat? Tell me. You did use cars for a long time.
So, the biggest question is going to be: is it better to buy a newer basic work truck, and it's going to cost you more money? Again, this is going to be a long-term proposition.
Yep, I plan on keeping this truck forever, essentially, which is why I want to get it. Yeah,
until you kick the bucket.
Until I kick the bucket, because I don't want. So it doesn't have over-the-air updates. It doesn't have any of the connectivity that the new trucks do.
That's how they get you.
I know. And what happens if it's sitting on the property without a cell signal for a month?
Yeah.
Right. And then I'm not forced into some technology stuff that I don't necessarily need or want. And the only real thing that the thing that's nice to have is I want the cab lights because I just think they look cool.
Yeah, cab lights are awesome.
I just want cab lights. Everybody's like, they leak. I'm like, I don't care. I'll let them leak.
Silicone, yeah.
Yeah, but when I'm scanning through on the used car stuff, I'm always looking. The XLT appearance package means chrome bumper, but XLT is chrome grille. XLT gives you really nice cloth seats versus the vinyl ones. And you get a few, like a little nicer driver information center and a few other things. So that's kind of what I'm looking like, a nice version of that truck.
Yeah, if it's going to be a ranch truck, wouldn't you want vinyl seats?
I mean, yeah, but I still got to drive it.
Yeah.
I don't want to burn my butt. And the other thing is, I feel like the vinyl seats aren't built as well as the XLT seats.
They're probably not as comfortable.
Yeah, so I can always get a cover or something like that on it. So I'm not too worried about that. But I just keep going through, and
so what would that truck cost new today? $60,000 probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to spend, roughly a third, and you're going to get basically 80% of a new truck. So you'll save some money. You're going to put it back in.
It'll be 10 years old.
So you're going to put some money back in maintenance. And there's no reason, though, that I see. As long as you get one that isn't rusty or has been beaten to death, and I know you're not going to buy that, but it should give you plenty of years of service to work around the farm, tow trailers, throw stuff in the back, do such things. And that's probably better because if you bought a new one, especially with a gas engine, they take a massive depreciation hit.
Well, massive depreciation if you buy it new, but then they settle and they're still 10 grand more than this generation of Super Duty. Yeah. Also, this generation is the last generation of Super Duty with metal body panels.
I was about to say it's not an Aluma Duty.
It's not Aluma Duty. Yeah. Although the first year of the Aluma Duty with the 6.2, I was definitely considering, but the price gets pretty hefty.
So just the frame rots away instead of the body.
Yeah, something like that. It's kind of like the old Dodges. And then people are like, "Well, why don't you want a Chevy?" I'm like, "I don't want a Chevy because I don't want independent from suspension.
You don't want an independent.
And I don't want a half ton for the same reason because I want something that I can overload on occasion if I needed to, and it wouldn't be a big deal, and that can handle a trailer. And then the other thing is, why not a Ram? And that era of Ram, they're not as nice as today's Rams.
No, but you could potentially find like an older Power Wagon or something.
Power Wagon would be cool, but first generation of the is the 05s, and then they went to crew cab only after that.
Yeah.
So you'd have to get the crew.
But I mean, you could probably find a tradesman Ram and probably be in the same boat because that truck is bomb proof. That 6.4 is a great motor. The trans is great because it does, the newer ones are 8-speed and it's the solid axle. I mean, you can't go wrong with a Ram. So I wouldn't discount that if you can. And Rams depreciate more
than the Fords do.
The Fords do.
The Fords are here's one. Here's a 2016 F350 XL. I'm going to spin here.
Okay.
So has a camper shell, 25,577 miles, but it's pure XL.
Okay.
25,998.
Some old man just kept that around to haul his trailer.
But that's what I want to find. I want to find the old man version. So I found one the other day, and this is the hard thing is you're like, I'm just going to go through because I want to see what the prices are, and then every once in a while, I'm like, man, if I was ready to pull the trigger.
Right.
Okay, check this one out. This one you might approve of. This is a 2015 F350 XL. It's got the XLT package. So it's chrome grille and chrome. Let's turn my laptop here. So this one has 55,997 miles, 6-speed automatic. It's black. It's got a headache rack in the back. The wagon wheel alloys on it.
That's perfect,
dude. 22,900.
Yeah, that's a lot of truck.
That's a lot of truck for the money, right?
Truck for the money.
And then I found one the other day that was
that's got years of service left.
I know, and I found one the other day that was a red one, which is like me. I love my red trucks, and it was fully loaded with everything, and it was like 27, and it had like 25,000 miles on it, and I'm like. That's the one that the old man had. He drove it.
If it's red, that's a retired fire captain.
Might be he probably him and his wife. They didn't need any extra space, and they probably had it stored inside, and they used it only to pull their trailer every once in a while.
Yep.
So anyway, that's kind of where my head is at. I guess I should probably maybe look more at the Rams, but
I would take a look at the Rams.
All right.
Yeah, I would take a look at the Rams. If you can find a 5th gen. Because it gets the 8-speed, 6.4, 2,500. Coil springs ride nice. And, I mean, because you're not going to tow that big of a trailer.
No. I mean, it's going to be a car hauler, 25 foot with something on it.
Yeah, worst you'll tow is a 392.
Yeah. So. Which is 7,000 pounds.
Ooh.
Actually, it's 6250 or something like that.
Yeah. I saw a guy, speaking of things that are over their gross vehicle weight rating, I saw a guy on Instagram that posted a picture of his Gladiator, and it has an Alu-cab on it.
Oh my gosh!
Alu-cab, all the stuff built out in it. The tanks are full. Just about 7,100 pounds.
How wide, how tall? Is it big or is it small? Is it more or is it less? If I describe it, can you guess? Partly flat and partly round, blue and it makes a ring sound. Now I've described it, can you see what this thing is bound to be?
Sounds like a really heavy Gladiator.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is I've followed this guy for a while, and he actually had a Cummins mega cab with all of that stuff on it, got rid of it, and then put all of that
same downsized stuff on a Gladiator.
On a mid-sized truck.
And then did he bend the frame in the middle?
Not yet.
Because you had some customers that bent frames on Gladiator.
A couple of them. Yeah, that was
you did a few frame replacements back in the day. All right, well, thanks for telling us about your truck and helping me figure out what my next truck is. But yeah, I mean, just something simple about a regular cab, heavy duty, 250, 350, don't care.
That's Americana. A truck.
Yeah, and I'm not.
My grandpappy didn't have leather seats in his truck.
I might drive it maybe 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles a year or something like that. It's not gonna be my daily, right? It's just gonna be for doing work. But if I find something cross country, I'm going to go get it. And then I'm going to do a podcast episode of the return of it. Because there's nothing better than buying a vehicle sight unseen and then driving it across the country.
Sounds like an adventure. I'll go.
Or as you say, are you game?
Yeah, I'm game.
That could be fun.
Let's do it.
All right, everybody. Enough of the what does Holman and Rice have in their driveways or what they want. We got to get into some inbox here.
You email? Yeah. I email? Do it. We email? That's right. Everybody email. Type it up. You email? Proofread. I email? Send it.
All right, so Sean Gerard says, I was surprised when I saw the episode was almost 2 hours long, and that was the one with Kirsten Backus from Cobb. I thought Lightning was back, but then you played Kirsten's intro, and I knew why it was so long. So we have this long intro for Inside Job, and I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's like minutes long. And most of our
thank you.
No, most of our intros are like 15, 30 seconds. This is a test.
The truck show.
Or a sample.
The truck show. Vroom, vroom.
Anyway, it goes on for a really long time, and we hadn't played. I banned it from the podcast with Jay. I'm like, dude, we're out. We're not playing that anymore.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, this one's funny because it's so long. And so then I was just feeling the mood. I'm like, all right, I'm playing it. And then half was hate mail and half was, that was funny. I hadn't heard that. Don't play it again.
Yeah. Decided to ruffle some feathers.
Yeah, every once in a while. Wade Goldsmith sends me Truck Nuts, the Next Generation, and it's a Ford Lightning that has giant electrical wire nuts hanging from the hitch instead of truck nuts.
Oh, I've heard of that.
I mean, that's kind of funny, right?
No.
Okay. All right. So moving on from that one. And then our buddy Ray says, I'm an idea man. He says, hello, Sean. Something popped in my head. I thought I'd put it out there for what it's worth. Several months ago, Tim Kaniskis showed up at Leno's garage to deliver the last Charger Pursuit Hemi to be built prior to Stellantis shutting down on that production in Canada. It was a pretty good episode. With that bit of background in mind, I got to thinking it would be something of a Triple Crown thing for TSP if you could get Leno, Kaniskis, and you all at Jay Leno's garage for a more intimate introduction of the upcoming Ram Charger after the formal introduction, of course. I know it's a long shot, but if you can talk to Leno or Kaniskis, I'm sure the other one would agree to do it. I don't have that kind of pull, strangely enough. I've met Jay on several occasions, and I know how to get to him. Lieberman's tight with him, as well as some other people I know. Kaniskis is a busy guy right now. I think I would have to have 100x what the podcast has to get both of those guys interested in doing it. But hey, if you're listening to the show and you've got a poll and you want to put Leno, Kaniskis, and I all together in a room and talk about the new Ram Charger, like, I'm all for it. Anyway, Ray says, if you don't already have Kaniskis in your contact list, I do. Maybe get Jim Morrison and some of your other long-term Mopar contacts to lean on him a bit. Anyhow, just putting the idea out there in case you think it might be of interest to you. I admit, the idea springs from my personal interest in the Ram Charger, but that's going to be a pretty big deal for the American pickup truck industry. And in my humble opinion, it'd be a pretty big win for TSP to cover it with these two celebrities. Thanks for considering the idea, regardless of what happens or not, Ray. I'd love to have it. I am going to be going out to the Ram Heavy Duty Drive in about a month. Where I'll be driving the new Ram Heavy Duty. I'll be towing with it, doing some off-road, and then it sounds like I might be driving it back to SoCal and having it for a week.
Oh, nice. New engine, new transmission, right?
Yep.
Nice.
So
the much-awaited new transmission.
Yes, the much-awaited, the new ZF 8-speed power line. So what I'm hoping for is at that event, since I'll have the wheels, I'll be able to maybe get a Ram executive to do a little podcast on the HD trucks, and I do want to do something special with the Ram Charger. Fortunately, I know the guys who are still over there, and just work my magic and hopefully get them on the show. All right, so moving over to Spotify, we've got a couple new reviews this week, and they both came from the same person who only goes by K.
Wow.
I don't know. It's like, isn't that like a Dubai license plate or something? You get one letter, like you got in early.
If you have money, you get one letter.
So we think K is rich?
Possibly.
Okay, send some money to the Truck Show podcast, please. So Kay says this one is Season 3, Episode 8. That's the Have You Heard Truck News segment. This one had the Ford Megazilla 2.0 in it. They say, please bring back the no in this segment. I know Lightning isn't there to ask, but I still think it'd be funny with the Have You Heard no drop.
No.
Keep up the good work. All right. Appreciate that. And then Kay also left a comment on the Kirsten Backus episode and says, another great episode. Hummer content was great. Kirsten was a great guest, and 5 stars.
Congratulations. You have earned 5 stars.
All right. Appreciate that. You guys know you can leave reviews on Spotify and on Apple. Please continue to do so and help us with our discoverability on those platforms, because the more you interact with those platforms, the more it puts it out in front of other people. So really appreciate when you guys check in. All right, and Mike alluded to it earlier in the episode. We'll head over to the Podshed Insiders group. You guys have been crazy. We've got just short of 300 people in there now, so I really appreciate all that. So Dan Church posted, Kirsten Backus or Jay Tillis? She was phenomenal. It's like, oof.
Dang.
Jay's still in there, guys. He's still reading that,
Yeah.
He probably just did that to poke him.
Don't read your own reviews.
And then Emmy posted a picture of a can of Diet Dr. Pepper. So we'll ban her immediately from the pod shed because Mike Rice will agree with me.
Does anybody drink Diet Dr. Pepper?
You can't mess with the original formula.
No.
It's been out longer than Coke. Just leave it alone.
Diet?
It's got 23 flavors. You don't need any more. Diet leaves like a chalky, weird taste in your mouth, and it just
and the artificial sweetener.
and they're like, oh, it tastes just like. No, it doesn't.
No, just stop.
It's awful.
It can join the front snow plows on all the new trucks.
I appreciate Rich Humphreys putting the brake rotor that had some art on it, posting that up for everybody to take a laugh at. And Wade Goldsmith, I think, poked the bear and hit the hornet's nest with a big giant stick when he lobbed this one into the group. Am I alone in not liking the minor changes into the intro song? The electricity line in the intro of Holman's just a bit flat. And that had 60 comments on it, and everybody was going at each other. So I kind of let you guys fight it out a little bit without me, but I threw in there, just so you guys know, the way that came around, I asked Omar, who originally did the song, to modify that line and then update the jingle. And he did it for me for free as a favor, so that was huge. So I really appreciate that. The reason it sounds a little bit different is because after 7 years from doing the original, the equipment he had done it on was different. And so he had to use the equipment he did and try to match it as much as he could without redoing the whole thing. And then I believe the lighting in Holman was done by Jay on a different machine. So he had to replicate that also. So anyway, I didn't mind because I liked it to be slightly janky because that's sort of like the fun vibe that we have here.
It fits with the rest of the show and all the drops.
Totally.
It's great.
Totally. So anyway, because of that input, I edited the levels a little bit so it doesn't sound as patched together and more cohesive, even though I liked it. The newer version is on this episode. And that being said, the electricity line is not being removed. I actually wanted to add that like years ago, but we didn't want to necessarily change the jingle for it. But I thought this would be a good opportunity with going into season 3 and kind of a new format of adding it.
While you're in there.
Well, and we covered anyway.
Yeah.
We cover gas, we cover diesel, we cover electricity.
Yeah.
It's like whether you love it or not. I mean, there's people who don't like diesel, right? And we cover that. And there's people who don't like lowered trucks, and we cover that.
Yeah.
So anyway, a little backside of water for you guys there, but I do appreciate the
let's call it constructive feedback.
Yes, constructive criticism. I welcome it. Podshed Insiders on Facebook is a great place to go and leave that. But don't forget, Podshed Insiders is a great place to do that. I'm on there almost every day. I read it all. So anyway. All right. I'd like to thank my buddy Mike Rice for hanging out and co-hosting this episode with me. And also, we have to thank Matt Graves, the Bacon Man, mostly because he sent me bacon.
Yeah, I mean,
podcast or not.
That's amazing.
He sent me bacon.
Bacon and Dr. Pepper are two,
Oh,
great
dude.
things.
That and some eggs with breakfast is so good.
Can you do some sort of drink infused with bacon and Dr. Pepper?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It'd be instead of simple syrup, hear me out.
Okay.
So old fashioned.
Yeah.
And instead of simple syrup, Dr. Pepper.
No, Dr. Pepper like rendered down a little bit so it's thicker like syrup.
Okay.
Like take the fizzies out of it so you just have like what's left of the flavor.
Syrup.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if Dr. Pepper would send syrup so we could make
Dr. Pepper old fashions
with bacon.
Oh, dude, I like that idea.
Yeah.
Huh. We may have to move from the podshed to the kitchen and start experimenting.
We might have to.
Huh. I mean, I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either.
All right, don't forget to follow us on social at Truck Show Podcast. Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Oh, oh.
All right, don't forget to leave us some messages. I'd like to hear you guys from the 5-star hotline 657-205-6105. Of course, join our Facebook group, the Podshed Insiders. And keep sending in those events. I'm getting close to actually putting them in the on the website. And the website, truckshowpodcast.com, has our featured products and any specials or deals we have going on. We talk about the Kershaw Knives deal or OVR. If you forget what those deals are, just go to the website. They're on there. And appreciate all the feedback, truckshowpodcast@gmail.com. And I got to thank the sponsors. Our presenting sponsor, NissanUSA.com. Nissan makes great midsize pickup trucks. The Armada is absolutely fantastic. If you're in the market for a full-size SUV, don't buy that Tahoe quite yet. Go on down to Nissan. I think you'll be blown away with what they've done with the new Armada. AMSOIL and AMSOIL.com. Great place to buy anything you need in terms of lubricants, car care products, synthetic oil. AMSOIL has been an amazing partner, and their catalog is thick. Plus quick shipping. And then our friends over at Kershaw Knives, kershaw.kiusa.com. Don't forget about the Truck Show podcast discount. That's 40% off MSRP. And you can go, and it even works for automatics, and you can use it multiple times. So listen, go buy yourself a knife, buy one for your family. Got Mother's Day and Father's Day coming up in a couple months. I'm sure Mom and Dad would love knives. Go support the podcast and take care of that. And then also OVR Mag, OVRmag.com. If you want some really great truck content, you miss the old buff book days of having a magazine to read while you're doing your business, then you want to go check out OVR Mag. It's a thick, beautiful magazine. Comes out 6 times a year.
I actually just renewed my subscription.
Thank you, Mike Rice.
Yeah,
did you
amazing.
Did you use the @Truck Show Podcast discount code?
I did use the Truck Show discount.
See,
I can't wait to keep getting those things in the mail.
That's why we can be friends.
That's why we're friends.
All right. Well, follow Mike Rice's lead and make sure that you subscribe today to OVRmag.com. And sorry, Mike, that's it. I mean, that's all there is to this episode.
Let's do it again.
You know, you're welcome anytime. So if you're ever super bored, I do this enough times a week, I can accommodate you anytime.
Maybe people at the Podshed Insiders group will give me feedback if this was good or not, or an absolute disaster.
Oh, that would be...
Careful what I wish for.
That's a good point, because you may ask for it. You may not like what you heard. They may tell you.
This is the worst show we've ever done.
I'm not saying it is. It probably isn't. I always love having somebody in the Podshed with me, but... yeah.
Thanks for having me. It was a good time. It always is.
So right now it's Emmy Hall, Mike Rice, and Kirsten Backus all in the running for more Podshed time.
The Truck Show Podcast is a production of Truck Famous LLC. This podcast was created by Sean Holman and Jay Tillis, hosted by Sean Holman, and uses production elements by DJ Omar Khan and Jay Tillis. If you like what you've heard, please open your Apple Podcast or Spotify app and leave us a 5-star review. And if you're a fan, there's no better way to support the show than by sharing it and patronizing our sponsors. Some vehicles may have been harmed during the making of this podcast.
All right, Mike, one last question before you go. You received a care package from Cummins.
I did. And here's the funny thing, right? I mean, we can sit here and joke about how long it takes for recalls to actually have parts released, this and that. So I had the software programming done on my Cummins.
The one everybody's like, I'm not doing that.
Nobody wants to do it.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is Ram and Cummins are getting their feet held to the fire by the EPA to get this done.
Right.
And nobody wants to do it. I didn't want to do it. I was skeptical, but they dangled the 2-year unlimited mileage warranty in front of me. If you get the recall done, your emissions equipment, certain portions of it, 2-year unlimited mileage warranty from the time you get the recall done. So I got it done when I had like 150,000 miles on my truck. And to further entice people, they offered a Cummins care package. And I got this recall done in June of 2024.
And it just arrived.
Here in February of 2025, 8 months later, I got a Cummins cooler backpack, a Cummins sticker pack, a metal Cummins badge, a goofy Cummins hat with like notches cut out of it so you can wear your fishing sunglasses, and a pen that is a ruler and a level.
Yeah, and I was reading something. They call it it's the 6-7 Forever. And
Yes.
The stickers are 6-7 Forever with the Cummins logo, Truck Yeah with a Ram on a road, a High Mileage Club sticker, Keep Calm and Cummins on.
That sounds so bad.
It's so bad. And it says, thank you for completing your Cummins 6-7 Turbo Diesel software update. We hope these gifts, designed exclusively for the 6-7 Forever community, help to power your next adventure. And wherever your Cummins powered Ram takes you next, don't forget to share your journey with us at Cummins, #Cummins Forever. So I expect you on your Instagram, which, by the way, you just changed recently.
I did just change it.
What's the new one?
I have to look because I can't remember.
Mike_R_562. Mike, I expect you to have some sort of picture of that care package with Cummins Forever tagged on there, and tag the Truck Show podcast.
I'm going to.
As well.
And if you've had the recall done, please take advantage of this and get your free stuff.
All I know is that as soon as you post that up and tag Cummins,
THANKYOU, thank you.
they're going to say thank you.
I hope so.